Hello and welcome to the Somatic Movement and Mindset podcast with me, clinical somatic educator and founder of Total Somatics, Heidi Hadley. The Somatic Movement and Mindset podcast has been designed to help you gain a deeper understanding to how your mind and body work. You will learn about your amazing mind and body and why over time you can feel pain, recurring injuries and poor posture. Within this podcast, I will teach you why this doesn't have to be your future or the norm for you. Would you like to learn how to reduce pain, move freely, and gain a new lease of life? Let's get started. Hello and welcome back. Now, in today's episode, we're going to consider the connection between being stuck in a tight body and this feeling of chronic fatigue. So in the previous episode, we looked at the reasons that can happen for being stuck in a tight body. So if you haven't checked that episode out, please do. But there's a common feeling, and it's really increased in recent years actually, of people mentioning to me about this chronic fatigue, this sensation, this overall impact it's having on their life. And last time we looked about how living in this vice-like grip where your muscles just won't yield, so front, back, and the sides of your body are chronically tight. It requires your muscles to be chronically tight, requires enormous energy. If you consider this, for your muscles to be contracted, you're using a lot of fuel in your body to keep holding them chronically tight. So for a start, you think that's really not very efficient when it comes to using energy in our body. We want to be energy efficient. We don't want to be draining our batteries, as it were, by holding muscles chronically tight. Because remember the last time I used my very feeble bicep to demonstrate the principle of movement, that when one side contracts, the other side lengthens. Well, imagine if you're walking around with your biceps flexed all day. You're just walking around. For a start, it'd look a little bit weird, but imagine if you're walking around with tense, contracted, tight biceps. That's really quite energy inefficient, isn't it? Because if you're tensing the biceps all day, it's fuel that could be used in other parts of your body. But long-term contracting that bicep and holding it in that position is going to start to affect things like your joints. And also there'll be an adaptation of how you're moving and how you're working and walking and lifting and carrying and twisting, because your biceps are really not going to be much use if they're just contracted all the time. And so the really common thing that people will find is that they are going to become very depleted very quickly and lacking energy when you've got muscles that are chronically tight. And the reason for this is when your muscles are unconsciously or subconsciously contracted, they are no longer under your voluntary control. And so you're just burning through large amounts of energy. Your brain is telling those muscles stay contracted. And I'm just going to share something interesting with you to demonstrate how your brain is telling your muscles to stay contracted constantly. So they're no longer under your voluntary control. You are really, well, we know we're more subconscious than conscious, but this is an ideal example. Because have you ever had a massage and you're lying there on the massage table and the therapist is going, oh, those muscles are tight, and you can feel that they're tight, they're really sore. And yet you're thinking, hang on, I'm not moving, I'm not lifting, I'm not carrying. Why are these muscles chronically and involuntarily contracted? They should be relaxed. It's a bit like when you go to sleep and those muscles will still be tight, because sometimes you'll roll over in the night and the pain will wake you up and you're thinking, hang on, but I'm relaxed. I'm not even using my muscles in this motion. And you might have your massage and feel really refreshed and think, oh, I feel looser, I feel lighter, my eyes are brighter, because of course we've softened the muscles, we've opened and released a lot of the jamming and tension that's within your joints, blood vessels and lymphatic flows improved. However, when that person walks out the door, they go back to their habits, they go back to their behaviors, they go back to their postures and the way that they're doing things, which build up and create these tense, tight muscles. And so within maybe a month or less than a month, those tense, tight patterns of muscular contraction return. And that's because we've targeted just working the site of pain, but we've not got to the root cause, which is how your brain communicates to your muscles. And in this instance, when you keep doing something long enough, when you are stressed, when there's different aspects, your brain patterns tension throughout your body within your muscular system. And so no amount of needling or decompression or compression therapies or stretching or pulling or tugging or manipulation is actually going to get the muscles to yield. You can even try and drug a muscle, but it's not going to change the subconscious patterns of behavior that have developed over years. So that's why it's about a re-education process. And that's why total somatics is called total somatic education, because it's about educating ourselves to sense and feel and notice what's happening internally. Because when we can sense and feel things, we can change things. We can change our habits. We can change our behaviors. We can change movement patterns. It's so powerful, this work. And so let's refer back to the issue of chronic fatigue. You see, when a person wakes up, they can feel quite disheartened because they've had a night's sleep, and yet they still feel quite washed out, quite drained, quite tired. They feel achy all over, and they think, well, I've just been asleep. Why is this the case? Well, if you are in the Total Somatics membership, you'll know we have an entire section that's dedicated to chronic fatigue, fibromyalgia, and burnout. And so I go into great detail in that section. So please check that out if you're in the Total Somatics membership. I really do delve into deep, because you can't really cover this just in a few minutes in a podcast, but there's quite a lot of things that are happening hormonally, with your fascia, with your muscles, with your nervous system, which start to contribute towards these sorts of sensations. However, what I'd like us to consider here in this episode as regards those feelings of achiness and tiredness is that this common myth that your muscles are not fatigued, but they're weak. Have you had that? If somebody said to you, well, actually, what you've got to do is just actually strengthen those muscles, they're actually really quite weak. And so if you have ever touched those sensitive sore muscles, have you ever done that? Have you ever thought, oh, those muscles are sore, they're really achy, touched them and thought, they're rock hard? So if they're rock hard, we know that they're just chronically tight and tense. If you want to strengthen a muscle, you've got to tighten that muscle further, which is going to really amplify your pain. It's going to increase that rigidity in your movement. It's not going to be very conducive to encouraging a nurturing, kind, restorative state within your nervous system. And what happens is that involuntary contraction, the muscle contraction that you're no longer under control, it gets tighter. Because if you keep strengthening or tightening an existingly tight muscle, it's not going to get softer, is it? Your brain has learned how to tense and tighten muscles. It's forgotten how to simply soften, release, and let go. That's where total somatics comes in, because what we want to do is actually soften those muscles, release those muscles, let your nervous system actually dial down from that hypersensitivity. When you're in pain, everything is painful. That's why I encourage people to notice, is it truly pain or is it a sensation? Because we get conditioned to any sensory feedback as being pain. And in total somatics, that's why I guide you through actually unpacking or unpeeling these belief systems, these learned behaviors that we've developed, and actually considering our mindset when we're dealing with our well-being to how we manage our state, how we manage our nervous system state, as well as our overall well-being. And so remember that your muscles are actually contracting. That's why they're so tight. That's why it's using so much energy up. So we need to learn to teach your brain how to soften and release, how to dial down that stress response, how to level off a lot of those hormones that are contributing towards inflammation levels being high. All of that needs to be worked. And that means we need to down-regulate the activity that's going on underneath our skin. And so that's why I'd like to just share with you that if you are interested in joining the Total Somatics membership, please go to totalsomatics.com, click on the Join Now page, and you'll see that every now and again I'll open the doors to the membership. If they're currently closed, please leave your details, or your email, should I say, in the little box on the Join Now page. And when we open the membership doors again, you will be the very first to find out. They only open for a few days, a few times throughout the year, and the rest of the time I'm fully focused on the members within the membership, helping them and serving them. So that's why go to totalsomatics.com, click on the Join Now page, and you can leave your email details there. But if you really want to get started today with total somatic education and you want to start to learn to soften these muscles, which they are beautiful. Your muscles are beautiful. They're so amazing, beautiful structure. But what we've got to do is just learn how to use them efficiently and again, dial down that stress response and all those subconscious learned patterns of behavior that you've developed. If you want to start today, if you go to totalsomatics.com, click on the shop page, and you will actually see there's workshops, there are audio classes too. So you can start today and then join me and the wonderful members from over 20 countries around the world within the Total Somatics membership when the doors open. So until next time, all my love and very best wishes. Take care. Bye. Thank you for joining me today. If you've enjoyed this episode, please leave a rating and also forward this on to somebody you know will benefit. To learn more about pain relief, plus how to improve your health and well-being, go to totalsomatics.com. Until next time, take care.